Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day, everyone. It is such a wonderful day. Welcome to Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by Fit Aid. I'm Zena, joined by Warriors Insider. You know, you are they call you the foremost authority on the Warriors. Isn't that quite the title?
It's quite the title. I'm not sure if I deserve it, but it's quite the title. Yes.
Monte Poole. And if you just saw 4 rings, you saw him walking like a bad man in the gym, making sure that he could tell us all the great things about Steph Curry. And we've got some great things to talk about with that man today.
Oh, no doubt about it.
The Warriors, we finally broke the curse. I am finally hosting Dubs Talk Live with a win, folks.
What are you, 0 for 3 before today?
I was 0 for 3. I was starting to think it was me. But nope. The Warriors took down the Washington Wizards 127 to 118, and they improved to a perfect 500 on the season. They keep teetering and tottering on that 22-22. But let's start with the main person responsible.
Yeah.
41 points out of Steph Curry.
12 in the last 7 minutes when they had to win the game. I mean, the Warriors were down with 9.5 minutes to go. The Warriors were down by 8. And they needed to come back, and they needed the comeback to happen on offense and defense because the Wizards were scoring.
Yeah.
They were scoring. They were hitting shots. You know, Porzingis was hitting shots. They were giving. With the Warriors, Draymond was terrific on defense, leading that defensive charge. But Steph came off the bench, and you could see it in his eye that, okay, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure we don't lose this game.
Right. I mean, don't call it a comeback.
But that's what it was.
It's what it was.
It's
the most amount of minutes that he's played since he's been out.
Yeah.
He had the most amount of points that he's scored since he's been out.
Yep.
And 6 made threes. I mean, obviously, everyone was talking about that 8 turnover game yesterday.
Against Chicago,
Right?
Yeah.
And he talked about it in his interview with the post game, saying, yes, we had some turnovers, but they were good turnovers.
Today.
And we were getting some good shots today.
Yeah.
And that was really important to make sure that he could involve the offense, and that's what he does best.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday they gave up 31 points off turnovers against the Bulls. It's almost impossible to, I think Steve Kerr said it's impossible to win in the NBA that way. You can't give your opponent that many points and expect to win. But in this game, they gave up 11 points off turnovers. You can win that way. The Warriors do win that way. They didn't really, they outshot the Wizards barely, rebounding barely. But in the fourth quarter, they shut them down. And that's what they held Washington to 12 points over the last 9 points over the last 12 minutes.
It was very vintage Steph Curry. But what was not vintage and was a little bit different was the amount of times he got to the free throw line.
Yeah.
He averages like 4.9, about 5 free throws per game, and he shot 12.
Yeah.
And that really kept them in, I think, in the first half. Yeah,
we always talk about how Steph does not get the whistle, the superstar whistle.
Yeah,
a lot of calls going his way.
It's true.
And in this game, he got 10 free throws in the first half, which for Steph is phenomenal. I mean, he's done it like 12 times in his career, but that's, you're talking about 14 years.
Yeah.
So it's like once a year, So for him to get 10 in the first half, it tells you that, okay, he was also attacking. And when you attack, you should get some calls, whether they go in or not, because when you attack the paint as a guard, chance of getting hit are like 99.9%. Someone's going to hit you. And so in this case, Steph was getting hit, getting to the line, and we all know he's a 90% free throw shooter. So he's going to make most of those, and he did that tonight, making 11 of 12. And so I just think for Steph, the way he played, the conviction that he showed in this game in the first half, but really in that fourth quarter when he saw the game could slip away. You're down 8 with 9 minutes to go. And Steph is like, oh no, I'm not having this. I'm not having this.
He was very lion-hearted tonight. He played with such resolution. I'm going to get this win. And he said that he said we want to do whatever it takes to right the ship and make sure that we can get these wins on the road, because as we're going to talk about later in the show, they got some games coming up.
Yeah, they do.
And they need these wins. And so, losing to a Chicago, it was a good win over the Spurs, but again, losing to teams that don't have their star players is not an okay thing to be doing, especially at this point in the season. So Steph Curry, I mean, he was, like I said, vintage Steph Curry, running around, making people chase him. That tough shot against 2 defenders, 6'9" Kyle Kuzma in his face with his arm up. I mean, we saw the swinging pink sweater. Kyle Kuzma's got some long arms. Okay, that in front of him and putting that shot up with 0 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah. No,
that was vintage. I'm putting the team on my back. I'm getting this win.
I think that's a shot you can look at and say, yeah, you know what? I'm serious.
Yeah.
I'm serious about this one. And, we're not giving this one back.
Yeah.
And the Warriors can look back over this season so far. They've played 44 games now. And they can look back and probably look at 10 of those games and go, my God, what were we thinking? What were we doing?
Yeah.
And they lost twice to the Magic.
Right.
They lost twice to the Pistons. They lost to the Suns team
Why
without
are you
four starters.
reminding me of these right now?
So they have all
real.
these games they can look at and go, man, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? And the Wizards are sort of in that category, a losing team. I mean, they're not terrible, but they're not a winning team. And so to lose another game like that after losing in Chicago, which is, again, not a great team without DeMar DeRozan,
Right.
especially, he's out.
Especially, yep.
And I just think at some point, if you're Steph Curry and Draymond Green, you're saying, okay, what are we going to do this season? What are we going to do, guys?
Right.
Are we going to be okay? Maybe make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Are we going to really defend our championship like we should?
Right.
And tonight you saw that. I mean, there was the first half, the defense was not really good. Kristaps Porzingis was getting whatever he wanted, pretty much. I mean, he was smoking
26
hot.
points, I think, in the first?
Yeah, and he was just throwing shots in. And so they're getting open looks, and Rui Hachimura also hurt him pretty good. So, but again, when they counted, they found a way to win.
Yeah.
And we've seen that before. When they were home against Utah, they were down. They came back in the fourth quarter and won. Against the Trailblazers, they were down.
They're capable.
Came back in the fourth quarter and win. You don't want to make a habit of having to use fourth quarter comebacks to win games. Yeah. Especially against teams that you know you should mash.
Right.
And so I think tonight was a good win for their gut. Makes them feel better about last night. And now they know we got to go to Boston. You got to go to Cleveland, two really good teams.
All right, well, let's see what the vet had to say about this win. Steph Curry's at the podium.
Absolutely. Been saying that since in the first game. Every game gets stronger from the fourth quarter against the Suns. Didn't play the fourth quarter against the Spurs. Played, more minutes against Chicago. Just didn't go our way. And tonight was kind of a gritty, dig deep type of night. Like Draymond said, on back-to-back with only 8 guys really playing. Moses gave us a solid 5 minutes, but, 8 guys really available to go out there. So it's a big win for us.
Hey, Steph, not a game-related question, but, Chinese New Year coming up next Sunday. So your friends in China miss you, and they want to know, are you planning on going back to China to visit soon this offseason, or is there anything you want to say to Chinese fans?
Always appreciate their support. I don't know about our travel plans for the summer yet, but I've enjoyed all of my trips and tours, over there. And there's a lot of great energies, a lot of great fans that are knowledgeable about our game, about our journey. And we appreciate that for sure. And hopefully we can get back there, but I don't know when.
What was your perspective on fans tonight? Do you think you really think that changed your guys' not just there?
I mean, we always love to engage Draymond no matter who puts the gas in the tank. We've had some situations like that before. I remember Andre in Atlanta one year when he made a game winner. First thing he did was point at somebody that was on the baseline by our bench. Tonight was another example of, I think it was all, we've had bad interactions with fans where fans say, stupid stuff and go across the line and whatnot. There's nothing disrespectful. It's just good back and forth, but it was something that got Draymond going. And every time he hit a shot, he knew who he was looking at. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Fans want to, interact, if you will, and bring some humor to the game. Draymond responded, as long as, it doesn't cross the line where anything's disrespectful or personal, and that was exactly what it was. But that guy, he left early. I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. We're running out the clock. Like, you got to take that smoke the whole game. So as soon as we're walking back to the bench, I thought there'd be, a final word, but I looked over, saw him walking out before the clock was at 0. That's a cardinal rule. You can't do that.
Steve?
I'm sure he would have stayed if we lost.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I was out. Oh, absolutely.
Steve said he thought
broke through the barrier maybe tonight? I mean, you played 38 minutes, took those shots. I mean, physically, this feel big.
I think I got through that, like physically, like I said, the fourth quarter Phoenix game the package, if you will, of feeling comfortable out there, getting to your spots, feeling like I had the ball on the string, all that. That's gotten better every game. The aggressiveness was because that's what it required tonight in terms of, Clay being out. Like I said, 8 guys playing the way that they were defending us. I had to be aggressive. Missed a lot of shots I thought I was supposed to make. Made one I didn't think was going in. But you just sustain that for 4 quarters, and hopefully it's enough. JP did a lot of that in the first half as well. He had a big, dagger shot in the fourth quarter. So everybody contributed on that end. Even Draymond on offense, what was he like? He was perfect in the fourth quarter, I think, from the field. So everybody had to be aggressive. But for me, it was another step in the direction of getting back to myself after the injury.
Steph, you guys skipped the White House after your last championship. What does it mean to you to be able to go back there tomorrow?
It means we won a championship. It means it's, the 2 times we decided not to go, however that played out. Thankfully, we have another opportunity based on our accomplishment last year. And I think I said it after the game that it's a reminder of the perspective of, sports place in society and how it brings people together. The opportunity to use tomorrow as a celebration of our accomplishment, a reflection of, the holiday that's today and Dr. Martin Luther King's, Dr. Martin Luther King Day, and, just the ability to leverage this platform to speak on things that matter, continue to push the needle in terms of, again, bringing people together in the spirit of love and togetherness. That's what it's all about. That's what the ceremonies are about. It's not about us just patting ourselves on the back and just saying we won a championship. There's hopefully a lot of inspiration that comes out of how we leverage that moment. So it's an exciting time.
I'm going off of that.
Well, speaking of inspiration, Monte, Cardinal rule, fans, you heard the man. You cannot heckle players and then leave before the clock runs out, okay? But we thank whoever that was.
Move. That's a weak
It's
move.
weak.
Yeah,
But we thank whoever that was out in Washington because you fired up Draymond Green because he had an unreal second half.
Yeah.
And his performance really lifted up this team.
Well, Draymond hit a couple of threes.
Yeah.
And when Draymond hits at least 2 threes this year, the Warriors are 5-0. So that he might be like the secret there, boom, right there. You know how Draymond, when he hits a 3 too, he lets people know about it.
Right.
So this was a game where for the first half, he had some issues, but guarding Porzingis, but so did everybody having issues guarding him.
Right.
But in the second half, Draymond showed up big time. Big time.
And he was also, what I love most about Draymond was he was also an offensive threat this game.
Yeah.
He actually was putting the ball down on the deck,
Yep.
taking it to the basket. He's usually so preoccupied with his assists.
Those 11 points in the fourth quarter? Steph had 12 in the fourth, Draymond had 11.
That's impressive.
For Draymond, 11 points in a quarter, that's for Draymond, that's 3 games sometimes, 11 points.
That's vintage Draymond. Let's see what he had to say about his performance.
Playing more complete games. What did you think, especially that late surge in the fourth to close out the game and just the urgency?
I thought that late surge was great. At times I thought we were doing a pretty good job and it just wasn't falling our way. They were hitting crazy shots, but we stuck with it. And, that's what you have to do, especially on the road. We've had our struggles, so it's good to see everybody stick with it and come out and win.
Did that fan saying something in particular that seemed to kind of fire you up?
He just was talking from the start of the game until I shut him up. He stopped, obviously. But he had just been talking like the entire time. So I appreciate it, though, because I had nothing. I had nothing going. I couldn't find it. Wasn't about to find it. And then shout out to them. There was 2 of them. He got me going. So I appreciate those guys.
Well, you mentioned kind of getting going, not only obviously from a passion standpoint, but any particular plays in your mind that got you going in the second half?
I think for me, I always like to find my rhythm on the defensive end, or through passing the basketball, and was just able to come up with a few key stops that kind of, I actually was able to come up with some stops in the second quarter that kind of got me going a little bit. And then coming out in the second half, I just knew, we needed stops. Porzingis had it going. And so wanted to try to get to him some and just kind of screw up their offense a bit, but they still did a really good job. But just able to find it somewhere, wherever it was at.
You had 11 points in the fourth quarter and Steph had 12. I mean, what just kind of was going for you guys offensively to be able to pull away at the end?
Teams are always going to help off me. So, it was great to see those first, those 2 threes go down. And then from there, they were all worried about Steph. So I got the one open layup, wide open layup. Then I got the dive down to the paint. I got the dive where I got fouled and maybe wanted to split the pair. So, I mean, that's the weight that Steph holds. He carries, he's going to draw a lot of attention. They started blitzing him, and once they started blitzing, he just got off the ball and allowed me to make the play. And I didn't, their help side wasn't great, so it wasn't, the kickoffs weren't there. I was just going to those.
And it is insane how much of a presence just Steph Curry being on the floor opens so much up for his teammates. Because, like he said, the help side was not there. He couldn't kick.
Yeah.
He became an offensive presence.
Yep.
And as Steph is running around, making people chase him all over the court, he's being left wide open. People eat popcorn when Steph's on the court.
We talk about how the Warriors are unique among NBA teams for their starting lineup, having 2 guys, meaning Draymond and Kevon Looney, who don't shoot threes for the most part, who aren't real 3-point threats, or don't finish at the rim a whole lot, Steph allows them to do that.
Right.
He is so good. He and Clay are so good at shooting threes that they're the ones who force the spacing, because those 2 guys don't really space the floor at all.
Nope.
But in that fourth quarter, the Warriors don't also have a dive man regularly. Gary Payton II was the guy last year. This year, in that fourth quarter, you saw Draymond, he was the dive guy.
That's a good point.
And so he's getting to the rim against a team that at certain times don't have anybody to protect it.
Yeah.
So seeing Draymond become an offensive threat in a game does wonders for the Warriors. It's a bonus. You don't expect it all the time because you're not going to get it all the time. But generally speaking, when it happens, it's good for the Warriors.
Right. And you just love that versatility out of the veteran. Speaking of versatility, we got to talk about the pool party that went down in Washington. When we come back, stay tuned. Dubs Talk Live, presented by Fit Aid. We're going to talk all about pool.
JP!
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Fit Aid Clean Energy and Sports Recovery, the energy drink for athletes. Fit Aid Energy is naturally sweetened with only 15 calories, no sucralose, no aspartame, and no compromises.
Let me see. Oh, YouTube? YouTube!
Here we go. All right.
Anybody hollering at us on YouTube?
I love on YouTube. Just like it's just so courteous in the chat. Like,
so,
hello, everyone.
Yeah, every now and then, though, there's somebody
they get a
a
little
wild
spicy.
one. Yeah.
They get a little spicy, but they're always very, very curious, making sure they say hello, all the above.
That's right.
There's been quite a few things I've been seeing. I love this one. Want to hear your thoughts on this. Warriors are a top 10 offense. Their offense is nowhere near good enough to just outscore teams, though, hence 500, because their defense is bottom tier. This game changes nothing.
Well, the defense has been hit and miss. It's been good at times. It's been really bad at times. It's gotten better from where it was the first month and a half of the season or so. But it still has a ways to go.
Right.
Some of that was lost when Wiggins went down. He's back. He's not in his groove yet, but having Wiggins back will help. Clay playing the way he's playing, that's obviously a big deal too. Offensively, though, the Warriors are going to have issues until everybody gets going.
Yeah.
And for a while, when Steph was out, Jordan was struggling. Steph's back, looking good. Jordan looked good tonight, looks good last night. And now you're looking for a guy like Wiggins to get going, because Wiggins has been back. This is his 4th game, I think, back.
Yeah.
And you can still see he's trying to find his offensive rhythm. He's a 40+% shooter from 3.
Yeah.
But he hasn't been since he came back.
By the way, Andrew did get his 12,000th career point today.
It's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
so he's a scorer. He's just got to get back into the groove.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll take more than another game or two.
Yeah.
It could happen as soon as Thursday.
Oh, well, they'll definitely need that. All right, we're going back on to Dub Talk. Stay tuned, guys. Okay. Welcome back to Dubs Talk Live, brought to you by Fit Aid. We're chopping up this win, 127-118. The Warriors take down the Washington Wizards. And honestly, that game probably couldn't have happened without the versatile and timely first half scoring from Jordan Poole. He kept the Warriors up.
Yeah, Jordan is a not unique player, but his role for this team is he can be at his best. He needs his three. Mm-hmm. And his three ball's not been good this year. He's been shooting in the low 30s, high 20s this year, which he needs to be in the mid to high 30s,
right?
Which he can do. And today he was 6 for 11, I think, or 7 for 13.
7 made threes.
So when you make 7 threes, you're well above 50%.
There you go.
Now you don't need to see it every game, but if he stays between 35 and 40 and into 40, that's pretty good, and you'll take that. And so seeing that, I think what it does for Jordan also, it allows his game to expand. Yeah. Because when his three ball wasn't going during the homestand, and it wasn't, he had some trouble with turnovers.
Yeah.
Guess what was causing him? One of the big reasons is because defenders weren't respecting his three ball. So they're playing off of him a little bit, and he's thinking, should I shoot the three? And his threes weren't going in when they were open.
Yeah.
So now he's driving against guys who are playing him to drive.
Right.
And so what the result of that is turnovers. And Jordan had some high turnover games at home. And I think once his three ball starts falling, then the defender has to come out. And then you see Jordan go right past him. Right. It's hard to go past the guy who's playing that far off you, though.
It's true.
So if Jordan's threes are falling like he did tonight, you watch, his game will come together.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. There was actually a play, what you were saying, it makes me think of maybe the very first turnover he had, where he was on I think it was the right wing, and Kevon Looney was inside the paint. His defender was off of him, and he tried to lob it in.
Yes.
And it was like, there's no space for that to happen.
It was too confined.
It was too confined, and also it was an opportunity for him to shoot, but he didn't take it. Yeah. And so you're right, that definitely does happen where he tries to force some things sometimes. But tonight, he was able to find the game and let the game come to him. I loved how much transition ball he played tonight.
It was in the first half. He was killing it.
Unreal.
He was killing it, and so. He's not going to score 25, 26 points in every half of every game.
Sure.
But when he does that, the defense now has something to think, whoa, okay, this guy's coming at us.
Yeah.
And we also, and Steve Kerr pointed this out consistently, that when Steph was out, guess what Jordan's getting? He's getting the guy who normally guards Steph. And that's usually going to be a guy.
Even when Steph was still here, I mean, Mikal Bridges was on him at the Suns. And that's something that he's going to have to get used to.
When you play with Steph, though, you know Steph's going to get that guy. And he's playing with Steph now. Tonight he started with Steph. Steph's going to get the guy who's the team's top defender on the perimeter. Yeah. Jordan gets the other guy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a guy who's good, but not the guy the best guy's going to be on Steph if Steph is on the court. In this instance, Jordan took advantage of that. But it's so important that his three ball is dropping, and having that happen, like I said, it just opens up his entire offensive game, allows him to drive when he needs to. But when he makes those threes, you see Jordan kind of get that little swagger.
Oh, did you see the flex?
Yeah.
He's teaching me how to properly flex. I flex like this. Anyway,
Jordan showing his muscles.
His muscles? Oh, stop it. You're so silly. Anywho, we're going to need to see those muscles on the upcoming games. We'll talk about that when we get back on Dubs Talk Live, presented by Fit Aid.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Fit Aid Clean Energy and Sports Recovery, the energy drink for athletes. Fit Aid Energy is naturally sweetened with only 15 calories, no sucralose, no aspartame, and no compromises.
Like you look at the Jalen Green class and all the above, they're small. They're small. All right, guys. It seems I
have. Who's talking to us over there?
Yeah, right. I'm trying to get my earpiece correct, everyone. I'm just looking through, and so I am not married.
You get a proposal
but
here.
I'm just like looking. I was like, I'm like rolling through. I do. I am not available for marriage. So there's that. Yep, I am not. Let's just keep rolling and see if we can see some Warriors
basketball stuff.
Some basketball stuff. Okay, Linworth Turner. I think the Warriors will be fine. We were counted out last season. We were counted out last season. They were. The Warriors were counted out last season, and they came back and won. And when the time comes, everyone will play at a championship level. And that is the biggest key. Everyone comes out to play when the Warriors come to town. Yeah. And so they're not going up against tired. It's like, I have a point to prove when we play the Warriors.
Yeah. Well, I think at some point you got to figure out, though.
Oh, thank you.
They got to figure out, they got a way to sustain good performances.
Right.
And they haven't done that. They have the 5-game win streak at home. And in those games are all close games. And some of those games were games that had to come, required to come back to win. I think they want to see themselves develop good habits over a period of time. And they haven't done that. They haven't gone long without having either the turnovers bite them, or poor defense bite them, or poor shooting. Something is always biting them along the way.
Yeah.
If they put together, 7 or 8, 9, 10 games where they're playing consistently good basketball, keeping the turnovers at a minimum, making decent shots, defending well, then you can say, okay, I think maybe they can turn this thing around.
Yeah, and it's hard to do that when players are getting hurt and then they're healthy, and then they're hurt and they're healthy. Providing all the behind-the-scenes coverage, so make sure you get those notifications on for the social media, all the above, Dubs Talk as well, and that'll be a lot of fun. So we've got some big games coming up. Celtics, Cavs, Nets, Raptors, Grizzlies. I mean, teams that want the Warriors. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's why this win was so important.
Yes.
I'm not saying they can't beat those teams because they already beat Boston at home.
Right.
And they can beat Cleveland. They've beaten Cleveland. So this is about the Warriors trying to figure out how to be their best selves. And in this game, that showed up late in the game, and they got them a victory. Obviously, if you fall behind a Boston team like that, catching up is really hard to do against that team, especially in Boston.
Right.
So at this point, they're 1-2 on the road trip, or 2-1 on the road trip. If they can win one of these 2 games, it's successful. Whether it's Boston or Cleveland, I think that's a win on the road trip if you can get one of these 2 games. All
right. Well, we'll see what they'll do. Thanks again for watching Dubs Talk Live. I'm Zena Keita. This is Monte Poole, the foremost authority on the Warriors. Oh, you got one more thing?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
And that is, when you talk about the Warriors possibly winning another championship, it's not about winning a championship. It's about getting there and getting the position to have a chance to win a championship.
Right.
That means the habits they need to develop to get there, that's what they need to do.
Get that identity right now. All right. Warriors at the White House tomorrow. Make sure you tune in on My Team's app. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It's been Dubs Talk Live, presented by Fit Aid. Oh, we got some people excited for the White House coverage. That's awesome. I would like to ask you this question as well. When will Wiseman, Kuminga, and JaMychal Green return? Do you have any insight on what's going on there?
Well, the latest update is that Kuminga's the closest to coming back.
Okay, yeah, we saw him without his boot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so they're hopeful that he can come back sometime on this road trip, which means now you got Thursday and Friday coming up. You got 2 games to go. It's now Monday, so there's 3 more days there. They will get into practice between now and Thursday. And we'll see how he does. If he comes to that practice okay, you could possibly see him on Thursday.
Okay.
Wiseman and JaMychal Green are further back. I don't expect them to really play on the road trip. It's not out of the question, but it's unlikely.
Yep.
Just based on where they are in terms of progress. They're both on the road with the team, but seeing them, you might not see them until the Warriors get back home, which is next Sunday against the Nets, and maybe by then they will have had enough time to go and kind of reassert themselves and sort of reestablish themselves physically enough to get into a game.
Yeah. And what makes me think about how important it is for them to come back, Anthony Lamb. I am on Anthony Lamb watch, working at the G League as well.
Yeah.
35 games active. He gets 50 as a 2-way player.
Yeah. Well, Anthony Lamb has become, I don't want to say indispensable, but he's become so important to what this team is doing.
He's key.
He makes shots. He does defensively. He's not great, but he's okay defensively sometimes. But his shot has kept him getting minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you come off the bench, you can hit a 3 and another 3 and another 3. He's had a lot of double-digit scoring games.
Yeah.
And you can score games, you know, have 18-point games and 26-point games, and you do that off the bench, your coach is going to say, come on.
Yeah.
Get out
He's
there.
also fearless a little bit.
You like that idea.
You
too.
like that, right? Where you can tell if he misses a shot, if he makes a mistake, he's going.
Keep going.
Right?
Keep playing.
There was an interaction even today. Lamb fouled Kristaps Porzingis, and Steph was like, "Oh, come on, what are you doing?" And you saw Lamb was like kind of not laughing it off and like he didn't care, but like he was like, "Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
like, let me get with it. I got it."
Yeah.
And that kind of confidence out of a two-way player, but any player, especially that young, you want that ability to move on, next play. And then what happened? Later on, he gets that charge take. That gets that was huge. Where do they get successful challenges with the Warriors, right?
I know.
And they
Pretty
got
rare.
one off of an amazing help over solid feet charge take by Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, and so with Lamb, and we've been counting the days that he's out, he's been active, and the days he's played, because he's now played in 35 straight games. He hasn't missed any games, you know, since he started playing.
That's insane.
He played in one of the first 9 games of this season. He was inactive 8 times in the first 9 games, and now all of a sudden he's all over the place.
Right.
He's there every night. So,
I've seen him one time in Santa Cruz.
Yes.
One time.
The Warriors, there's still 25 days to the 26 days to the trade deadline.
Oh, right. Yep.
And at that point, you may have an idea of what, between now and then, you'll see where it is. That gives the Warriors, I believe the Warriors will make at least one move, at least one.
Yep.
And that will change the roster. We don't know how or who just yet. But Anthony Lamb, if he's still there after the dust settles, you know, he'll be converted to a regular NBA contract, I believe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, 15th slot.
He's earning it. He's earning it.
And he is. And that's what it really comes down to, is that it's apparent to everyone watching that he is playing for that 15th slot, and he's playing incredibly well.
If he is your 7th man, you know, then you've got a ways to go. But if everybody's healthy, he should be your 10th man, 11th man.
Yeah.
You know, and that way you need him when you need him, but you don't need him all the time.
Yeah.
But right now they need him all the time because you've got JaMychal out, you got JK out, you got Wiseman out. So Lamb pushes forward.
He brings size. He brings confidence, and he brings that shot.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah.
Well, YouTube, we appreciate you hanging out with us today. We got to win, y'all. We got to win. I'm not the bad luck charm over here.
There you go.
But appreciate you all. We are going to wrap up. This has been Dubs Talk Live, and we'll talk to you soon.